Hi everybody, it's Jennifer. I wanted to go ahead and start the first demo for architecture because this week we start on architecture. So when we look at architecture, we definitely have to talk about perspective, and specifically 1 and 2 point perspective. So this week I'm going to do a demo on 1 point perspective and do another little video on drawing some small basic house shapes. So as you can see, before I started the video, I went ahead and drew a bunch of boxes on the page just to make it a little faster so you don't have to wait for me to draw all the boxes on the page. There's one in the middle, top and bottom, on the sides, and then there are 4 in the corners. So again, we're going to talk about 1 point perspective and how to use 1 point of perspective to make these shapes recede appropriately. So for this demo, I'll need my newsprint, I'll need my charcoal, and I might need my kneaded eraser. So when we look at perspective, what we want to look at is when a shape recedes into space, it will either recede at 1 point or 2 points. And today we're going to look at 1 point of perspective. And so what I mean by that is, if we were looking at this box and we were looking at the top of the box, we saw a little bit of the top and the front side of the box, how would we appropriately put that in the right space with a vanishing point? So there's another word that we're going to look at today or talk about today is vanishing point. So on this box down here, there are 2 points. These 2 points, edges of the box, are going to recede back in space to make it look like this box recedes. So we've got a point here, a point here. And again, we are looking at 1 point of perspective. So today, our 1 point of perspective would be further back. So what we essentially do is we take this point and we take this point and we connect them to our vanishing point. So what this does is it makes essentially like a triangle. Looks like a roof on the top. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to draw the top of the box, and parallel lines are going to stay parallel. And then I'm going to take my eraser and I'm going to erase the top, the part that we don't need. And I'm going to leave the vanishing point in there so that you can see how we did that. So all of a sudden you can see we've got the top of the box in perfect perspective and we see the front of the box too, using 1 point of perspective, because this point of the box and this point of the box recede to 1 point in space. So let's do the same thing on this one. If we were looking at, let's say, even like a building or a house on stilts, you might see the underneath part of that, and so in that case we would want to show this. This point and this point are going to recede in space to a single vanishing point. So I've got my vanishing point there. I'm going to go ahead and connect this line to this line. And then depending on how much of that bottom of the box we see, I'll draw my line. Now you would actually want to sight and measure that in real life. Okay, now I'm going to erase the extra part that I don't need. Leave the vanishing point. Okay, so now we have this box in perspective where we see the front of the box and we see the underneath side of the box also. Let's look at the one on the side here. We are going to have 2 points that are going to recede to the 1 vanishing point. So I take this line and this point and connect it. I take this point and connect it. And then I'm just going to take off the part that I don't need. Okay, so I'm going to darken this line so you can see it a little bit better. Okay, so you can see the front of the box and part of the side of the box that recedes to the 1 point of perspective on this side. So let's look at this one, same thing, one vanishing point, but you have 2 points of the box that are going to recede. So I take this point, connect it, this point, connect it to the vanishing point, and again decide how much of that side that I see and draw my line there. Take my eraser and clean it up. Okay, I'm going to darken the front of this just so you can see a little better. Okay, so then this one, same thing. We see the front of the box, part of the side of the box, and it recedes to the one vanishing point, 1 point of perspective. Now, this seems kind of simple or a little bit easier, right? We have the front side of the box and we have one side to recede to 1 point. Now, let's say we wanted to take the front side of a box and recede the top and the sides to 1 point of perspective. It's a little trickier, but it's the same idea or concept. So I have 1 point that all of these 3 points are going to recede to. Now, when you're doing this week, I really recommend using a ruler for this, but for the demo, I'm just going to go fast. So it might not be perfectly straight. I apologize. All right, so this recedes here. This one recedes there. And this point, again, they all go to the same vanishing point, one vanishing point. Now here's the trick. Parallel lines stay parallel. So this line will stay parallel, and then this line will also stay parallel. Make sure that is parallel. There we go. And then I'm going to erase the extra. So on this shape, you can see that I've receded 2 sides of the box to 1 point of perspective. So the same thing up here. Make this a little darker. I'm going to have 3 points that are going to recede to the one vanishing point. I'll take this point, recede it here, second point, third point. Now what I'm going to do, parallel lines are going to stay parallel. And I'll erase the extra. All right, let's do the other 2 on the other side. Same thing. We've got 3 points of perspective, 3 points that are going to recede to the one vanishing point. 1, 2, 3. Okay, same thing. I'm going to parallel lines, make parallel. Make sure all that is straight. And take my eraser and pull off the extra. And then we've got 1 more to do. All right, we have 1, 2, 3 points. This point is going to recede. This point is going to recede, and this point is all going to recede to the same vanishing point. Parallel lines stay parallel, and then we take off the extra. Okay, so you can see what we did here. We took all of those boxes and used 1 point of perspective to put the boxes in the right perspective, just depending on what sides we were actually looking at of the boxes. So the next video I'm going to show you is actually how to turn these into houses, and we'll put roofs on them. But what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to copy this in your sketchbook, and it will count as a sketchbook sketch. So this week, one of your assignments is to copy this in your sketchbook. Make sure you understand the concept. I would probably use a ruler if you can. And if you have any questions, of course, email me. Thanks.